Madam Speaker, I rise today to speak against Bill C-233, a bill that is nothing more than a backdoor attempt to criminalize abortion and attack our reproductive rights. I want to acknowledge the critical work of so many advocates of Abortion Rights Coalition who have made clear that Bill C-233 is not actually about protecting girls and women or supporting vulnerable women, but rather a veiled attempt to criminalize abortion in our country. It is a bill that opens the door to racism, misogyny, and abuse. Today, I acknowledge that as I stand again in this House in support of a woman's fundamental right to choose, that we stand on the shoulders of giants. Giants like the women of the abortion caravan, trailblazers like Henry Morgentaler, feminist leaders like Judy Rebick, Carolyn Egan, Joyce Arthur, the women of the National Action Committee on the Status of Women, and many, many more. I think of women and two-spirited activists who created the Native Youth Sexual Health Network, the fierce feminist activists of the Radical Handmaids. I think of the women in my own community, in our own region, who fight to make sure that women and transgender people have access to reproductive rights. Let's get to the core of the issue. This bill is also a key part of the Conservative Party of Canada's not-so-hidden agenda. They tell us they've rebranded. They tell us they're pro-choice. They tell us they're pro-LGBTQ rights. They slap an emoji on it, a hashtag on it, and they're good to go. And then their members put forward bills like this one. It's not by accident, and it's also not the first time. Almost 10 years ago, in 2012, feminist activists will remember motions 312, motions 408, motions put forward by Conservative members at that time that again were backdoor attempts to criminalize abortion in Canada. I spoke to those motions as a member of Parliament almost 10 years ago. These motions, yes, were overwhelmingly opposed, but they weren't meant to pass. They were meant to send a signal at that time, like they are today, that the Conservative Party also holds the belief that women and some transgender people should not have the choice to do what they want with their bodies. These motions are meant to send a signal that the state ought to have the final say and criminalize those who choose abortion. These motions stoke the fire of possibility of a reactionary, patriarchal view of our world where women are subservient. So if the Conservatives truly cared about gender equality and the rights of girls and women so much, what else could they do to spend their time fighting for us? Well, my answer is so much more. First of all, they could start by recognizing that Indigenous women in this country have been and continue to be subjected to genocide. They could support the findings of the historic missing and murdered and inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women, an inquiry that they opposed, and pour their energy into action on its recommendations. But instead, the Conservatives aren't. Madam Speaker, it's May 2021. We are a year and some into a global pandemic. Women have borne the brunt of care work in this pandemic, in our care homes, in our hospitals, in our homes, in our schools, as essential workers. The Conservatives could fight for them, for paid sick days, for desperately needed protections, for targeted shutdowns of dangerous workplaces, for immigration status for women migrant workers and all migrant workers. But the Conservatives aren't doing that. They could speak up for the thousands of Canadian women who have lost their jobs, had to leave their work, had to scale back their employment because of a lack of childcare, a lack of elder care, a lack of supports. They could speak of the She Session and the clear recognition that women in Canada have lost significant ground during this crisis. They could fight for them, for universal childcare, for canceling student debt, for free education, for affordable housing, for publicly owned, compassionate models of care that value the women who need that care and the women who provide it. But the Conservatives aren't doing that either. Instead, we have Bill C-233 that will set the clock back on our reproductive rights. Madam Speaker, I am here to say that Canadian women and transgender people aren't having it. Many, including in my own province, have been on the front lines of fighting for greater access to abortion, particularly the availability of mifepristone. Thanks to the immense public pressure from advocates at the grassroots, Mifejimiso became universally covered by the provincial government here in Manitoba. But the struggle continues. Many women and some transgender people still do not have access to medical or surgical abortions in real terms when they need them. And here I also want to highlight the hypocrisy of the Liberals, who aim to score points on being pro-choice but do next to nothing to make abortion services available to women across our country, particularly in northern and rural areas. But many are fighting back. I want to acknowledge the leadership of Emily Pruder, an abortion doula and advocate for reproductive justice here in our north, who said northern and rural people already face incredible barriers just to access abortion. People are often forced to travel long distances, pay for travel out of pocket, and wait weeks before they can have an abortion. We don't need more barriers. This paternalistic bill is an attack on reproductive justice. The struggle is ongoing for access to abortion, for control over our own bodies, for reproductive justice, for gender justice, for liberation. And the struggle is not over. Women in the United States are taking on struggles in defense of reproductive rights in their home states and across their country. Women around the world have made it clear, from Ireland to Argentina, our bodies, our choice. Bills like C-233 are not fooling women across Canada. The not-so-veiled agenda of the Conservative Party of Canada is on full display. It's 2021. Women deserve leadership that will fight to make our lives better. Bill C-233 will not only do that, it will make our lives worse. That leadership starts with the fundamental respect of our right to control our own bodies, to allow us to make the choices that we know are best of who we are, when we want to get pregnant, if we want to have kids, when we want an abortion. And so today, Madam Speaker, I stand along with so many women, so many people across our country, so many people, including my colleagues in the NDP, in stating our clear and unequivocal opposition to Bill C-233 that is nothing but a not-so-veiled attack on a woman's fundamental right to choose. Thank you.